I started reading Warriors in 2012 or 2013 and stopped reading in 2016 or 17. I really liked a lot of the characters from the first few arcs, but I thought they would be replaced by the time that I started reading the books again in 2022. Sorry. When I was reading the new prophecy, I really enjoyed Squirrelflight and Ashfur's conflict. The love triangle was fun, and both characters were ones that I already quite enjoyed. The end of the arc was satisfying-ish, and ended in a way that future conflict was not out of the picture. And I know that the Power of Three was in fact written around the fire scene and the end to the conflict between those two characters. After Ashfur's death, I was ready to pack it up with him, Squirrelflight, and Brambleclaw. All of their storylines seemed to be finished, and I was okay with that. Plus, the Power of Three and Devilwing and Ivypool were all characters that we were focusing more on. I have a lot of complaints about those three characters, but let's quickly talk about an issue that I have with Omen of the Stars. I've always been put off by the fact that Jayfeather and Lionblaze have point of view chapters, which really clog up any story that we get for Dovewing and Ivypool, and Firestar, of course, has to also be put in there with being the fourth prophecy cat. The Errands had a pretty good excuse for Jayfeather and Lionblaze being included in the Omen of the Stars arc, because it still revolved around the prophecy, and they were also a part of the prophecy. I can see it, and while Lionblaze was beyond boring, seriously, they didn't do a lot with him. Jayfeather's chapters were always enjoyable, and, made it bearable to sit through everyone else. Having four cats as a point of view was frustrating to me at points, and honestly part of the reason why I stopped reading around Omen of the Stars, but I can overlook it now. I think that it was just kind of handled sloppily. Particularly, Jayfeather was a popular character out of the Power of Three, and I'd go as far to say that he was the fan favorite, with Hollyleaf pretty close behind. Hollyleaf is so much of a fan favorite character that she's come back to life. I truly believe that the Errands had no intention of bringing her back until everyone reacted to her death. This can be seen in the formula of the Errands being 3 books ahead when a new book is published, meaning they added her into the fourth book of Omen of the Stars after seeing how people reacted to her in Sunrise. Jayfeather's connection to Omen of the Stars and being a protagonist was something that was unavoidable given how the writers set that up. There was no prophecy without him and his brother, meaning that if the next arc was going to discuss the prophecy, they needed to also be present. I could see the heavy importance of Brimclaw, Squirrelflight, Leafpool, and Crowfeather in regards to the Power of Three as well, because of their familiar relationships. They used Brimclaw and Squirrelflight once again in A Vision of Shadows, and while I much preferred the kits of literally anyone else, maybe specifically Lionblaze's kids, I am kind of just frustrated that the Errands wouldn't let go of these two characters. Now, I can understand the importance of these characters given the positions that they hold within ThunderClan. Brambleclaw is now Bramblestar, a leader, and he's going to talk at gatherings and be mentioned anytime anyone's going to be talking about leadership or ThunderClan. And Squirrelflight is really similar as a deputy. It's really hard to discuss ThunderClan without her. However, their relevance as protagonists and what I'll call protagonist adjacents is still a lot. Basically, protagonist adjacent is like parents, siblings, mate, best friends of the protagonist, anyone who is holding relevance, who might not be super plot relevant. So like your Gray Stripes, Sandstorm, Ravenpaw, people surrounded by the protagonist. Having them as parents of protagonists, again, particularly with the same legacy and anxiety for their kids, makes these two stay in the spotlight a lot longer than most characters, which feels like a big problem. Let's consider another protagonist turned parent like Devwing. After her time as a point of view protagonist, Devwing has faded into the background or a more supportive role. I know that she had a big book to herself, but afterwards she's not been doing a whole lot. She's in ShadowClan, she's Shadowside's mother, she continues to hold some of her previous interests and power in the plot, but she's not overwhelming. She's not taking over. She's not, you can remove her from the scene and it would still be pretty fine. She's not super integral to the plot anymore, which is perfectly fine. Bramblestar and Squirrelflight, on the other hand, are in the books a lot. In fact, I truly, absolutely don't think that anyone can explain the plot of A Broken Code without mentioning these two. The entire plot is a leftover storyline of the second and third arc, and it's super, super obvious, and it's really, really annoying. Actually, besides the ending of the fourth arc to know that Bramblestar is happening, you could probably go straight from Sunrise to Lost Stars and you wouldn't miss much. Of course, there'd be characters that you wouldn't be familiar with, but you generally aren't missing a lot in the way of the whole Bramble, Squirrel, and Ash plot. As much as I enjoy this love triangle and how it made the early books develop well and show connection and just give some pizzazz, it's really uncomfortable to me because I thought we were all done with the Dark Forest. I mean, Omen of the Stars kind of put an end to that, but Ashfur's reappearance honestly was pretty bound to happen. I mean, he's a relatively popular character, whether that means, it's really hard to see, a map or fan art for Warriors that doesn't revolve around Ashfur or Squirrelflight or Hollyleaf and the Power of Free arc, and just that time is so ingrained into us as a fandom that the Erins could milk that, and they did. They made a whole arc about it, and I'm not surprised, I'm just really disappointed because that felt like low-hanging fruit. Come on, man. And this isn't to say that The Broken Code wasn't good or had interesting parts, because it was plenty interesting, and it actually posed a bit of a threat and could show that, these writers can handle more serious things. It also shows that they only have two modes for writing antagonists, either Rogue Group number 12 or bringing back someone from the dead and be like, well, evil now. The fact that the Bramblestar, Squirrelflight, and Ashfur drama took 3 different arcs to complete and just about 8 in-book years is staggering. 8 years. And that's me counting from Holly, J, and Lion's birth all the way up to Bristlefrost's death. It's about an extra year if you want to go from when the 6 cats are chosen for the journey, so 9 years, and you also skip 3 arcs, one of which is going back in time, so that doesn't exactly influence, but you don't really need Omen of the Stars or Vision of Shadows. Those 2 are just honestly filler compared to the rest of the plot that's being pushed. After all of that nonsense, Ashfur is finally dead and can't be brought back for another round of this drama, which is a relief. And with any hope, I really want both Bramblestar and Squirrelflight just to fade into the background like Ivypool or Dovewing or Lionblaze or any other once protagonist. In fact, I would love if a Starless clan just killed them. Just gone. No more. We've had Bramblestar for a really long time, actually like 10 years if you want to count from the Last Hope's release date, and I'm pretty sure there are better cats that could be a leader. Not Squirrelflight. Oh my gosh, everyone wants Squirrelstar. I don't want... We need to get rid of characters from the first 2 arcs so badly. My point is that the Aarons, these dear writers behind this book and this large editing team, absolutely refuse to let go of their popular and recognizable characters. I get it. It's marketing. It's familiar faces. That makes you money. That, you can slap that on a t-shirt. It's really annoying for readers. It's so annoying for readers because Bramblestar and Squirrelflight have been around for so many years, let alone in position of powers, that, it's staggering once you think about it. Bramblestar has been present in the story for almost 19 years. We're coming up on the 20th anniversary of these Warrior books, and Bramblestar has almost been in these books for 19 years. He shows up in late 2003. We are getting pretty close to 20 years of Bramblestar. That's insane. Squirrelflight's not any better because she's a little bit over 17 years, coming in about early 2005, so we're pretty close to having, 18 years of her, and that's just from when the books were released. That's, I mentioned before, in book years is really long. Some Warrior readers are younger than these characters. That's pretty crazy. You would think that these characters would be gone by now. Just think about this for a second. I know that the fandom has joked for many years about how Misty Star is old and we need her to be killed off, which, spoiler alert for River, finally got to that part. But Bramblestar and Squirrelflight are getting up there as offenders of the same crime. Cloudtail, a cat who has been very much alive since the beginning, is almost 12 years old and is only about a season older than Bramblestar. Greystripe is also 12 and a half years old, and he died recently after having been in every single book, minus Dawn of the Clans, up to that point, meaning he was in 36 books over 18 years of being in the narrative. That's too much. And except for a few occasions with Medicine Cats and Firestar and Lionblaze holding points of view and hyper relevance past their chapters, Bramblestar and Squirrelflight and Ashfur too have been dragged on for so many years. Too many years. In the world of the books, Bramblestar is about 11 and a half, while Squirrelflight is almost 10 years old. That's getting pretty old, considering that Misty Star was about 17. I've seen a lot of people say anywhere between 14 and older. She's old. She was old. And the fandom calls her elderly every single second that we get. Both of these cats are getting up there, and if Aarons want to make any good decisions with the Starless clan, we will start getting rid of not just early characters, but most characters. Any cat that's still alive and introduced in the Prophecies Begin, or early parts of the New Prophecy, or over the age of 9 and have been in the books for well over 15 years. That's a really long time, and the Aarons are very familiar with these characters, but seriously, please get rid of them. Why this bothers me so much is given the timeline in which I stopped reading and started reading again. I've never read past The Fourth Apprentice, except for book excerpts and seen like analysis with pages from it, and I started picking up interest again about halfway through the Broken Code. I mean, I was loosely paying attention about warriors, but I didn't start really paying attention until Broken Code's like midway. And imagine my surprise when I finished reading and we just got done dealing with Ashfur and him being dead, and it's like, okay, we're done with that. And I turn around and Ashfur's back. He's back. He's still alive. They're reusing that plot. And I mean, that's really frustrating because I thought we would have moved on from that point. Also, I can't remember if I mentioned this in a video or this was another script that I've never touched on, but I am a little bit frustrated with going back into books and being like, I don't recognize any of these characters. That part I don't care about anymore. Not really. I now more care about the fact that I look down and I recognize like a third of these characters that should be killed off. Should just get them out of here. We don't need them anymore. And not only that, but A Vision of Shadows frustrates me so much because the protagonists are, again, children of Bramblestar and Squirrelflight. Like, a fun fact about the Warriors books is that the protagonists are generational. I don't think that's a surprise to anyone, but it goes from Firestar to his daughters Leafpool and Squirrelflight to Leafpool / Squirrelflight's kids, Holly, Jay, and Lion, to Sparkpelt to Nightheart. And that's not including the characters who weren't parents or their children was in another generation, excluding both Dovewing and Ivypool for reasons I will talk about in just a moment. Both Leafpool and Squirrelflight, protagonists from A New Prophecy, get a chance to have kits and have those kits be protagonists, even again after Power of Three. A Vision of Shadows could have Lion Blaze's children instead. I mean, it would have been the same book, except instead of some Bramblestar scenes, we get some Lion Blaze scenes. Not that wildly different. The thing is that Squirrelflight and Bramblestar are so popular, so forefront, that they get another run at being, parents of protagonists and don't pass the torch. Of all of the generations that have been in these books, the only one who hasn't had one of their children be a protagonist, and hardly even protagonist adjacent, is Power of Three. And yeah, I know that one of them is dead and one of them is a medicine cat with no love interest that actually resulted in anything, but Lion Blaze has kids. We just skipped over Lion Blaze for no reason, and I'm not a huge fan of Lion Blaze, but it feels a little bit uncalled for. Moving on, Dovewing and Ivypool both follow this to a certain degree. Their time as a protagonist skips one arc before both of their children are protagonists, much like Sparkpelt. I think this is fine, and it's fine to skip and then go back and nod to a previous arc instead of just going one after another, but the Power of Three protagonists don't get this at all. I mean, seriously, Lion Blaze never gets that payoff, and it's unfortunate. It's also really heavily unfortunate that these characters we continually focus on are familiar characters from the first 2 arcs, if not the first 3 arcs. With any hope, these characters are getting old, and the Errands will remember that they're old and just start having to get rid of them. I mean, not every single one of these characters is going to live forever. Feral cats live for 2 to 7 years, and some of these characters are getting up to the double digits. It's time to pull the plug, Errands. Now, on to the topic that is the backside of this. There is a lot of characters that are unfamiliar to most readers. Unless you're someone who, like me, does deep dives about characters on the wiki page, or like looks for one and then just stalks all of their appearances in the books, and pays really close attention to stuff like that, then you're gonna struggle with this. Take a moment to guess how many characters there are at the beginning of the Lake territories in a Starless clan. This is before counting any of the deaths that have happened. If you said over 150 cats, you're right. There are 169 characters at the Lake territories currently, before those who have passed away in the book. That is an overpopulation crisis, if I have ever seen one. Modern Southern Clan has 45 cats in its allegiances. Shadow Clan has 12 less, with 33. Sky Clan has 38. Wind Clan has 27, and with the fewest, River Clan has 26, which then gets dwindled down to 23. River Clan's the only one that's actually a decent size. I mean, River Clan fits the same size as a couple of the clans at the very beginning of the series. Think about that. I don't know about the rest of the Warriors fandom, but there are way too many characters for me personally to keep track of. 100 maybe would be fine, but Thunder Clan is getting close to having 50 cats in their clan. 50! 50! That's a lot. I mean, that is huge. A while back, I did a rough approximation of the characters from the first arc and, like, how many would be in the clans. And, I mean, this was just from, like, cats that would randomly appear from the underclans during the first arc. And in total, that number came out to 72, but that could go up or down depending on which characters some of you guys think would count. But just 72. Or about 70 is how many characters there were in the forest territories in the first arc in Into the Wild. Roughly. All of the characters from the old forest territories now are roughly just the size of if Shadow Clan and Sky Clan were combined. That all four clans are now like the size of two clans. Excuse me while I say, that's way too much, bro. I mean, are you kidding me? The writers can barely keep track of ThunderClan's relations. I do not expect them to know the population of all of these characters if they can't even keep track of 1/4 of the population. Seriously? That is way too much. And I'm probably not the first fan to suggest this. I know there's a Moon Kitty video about death, in which cats to end, but seriously, these books need like a mass slaughter. We just need to get rid of a bunch of them. Like, roughly every arc there's a natural disaster that should wipe out a bunch of cats, but doesn't. Wars, flooding, sickness, forest fires, these things should be causing more deaths, but don't. So here's a few cats from each clan that I think should go. They're either not like plot relevant, or they're just not interesting, or they have had way too much time in the spotlight. For ThunderClan, get rid of Murmelstar and Squirrelflight at the same time even. Have there be a fight for leadership, and some background characters really want to be leader. Of the 4 elders, kill 3/4 or 4/4 of them. Just that's Thornclaw, Cloudtail, Brightheart, and Brackenford. Get rid of, 3 or 4 of them. We don't need them anymore. Kill Whitewing and Poppyfrost before they get too old. Add in either Elderheart or Sparkpelt. Either is fine. Bumblestripe, Cherryfall, and either Cinderheart or Blossomfall also need to go. Lionblaze is definitely gone, but you can keep Jayfeather and less Elderheart is the one that survived. So it's kind of like, if you keep Sparkpelt, you have to keep Jayfeather, but if you keep Elderheart, Jayfeather's gone. Get rid of Dunos, Thriftier, Stormcloud, Honeyfur, Soilstripe, Finleap, Shelfer, Leafshade, and maybe Daisy if you can replace her. Both Ivypool and Fernsong also gotta go. You can probably tack on Finchlight and Bayshine, and you can probably also get rid of 2/3 of Spot First kits, and it really doesn't matter which ones, but probably those Ginger Legacy named ones. That would bring their population from 45 to like 22. Basically on par of where ThunderClan was at the beginning of the series way long ago. Of all these cats that I've left, I'd love for someone like Plumstone or Soulstripe to become leader. And I think that Twig Branch would have really good deputy skills. I think Spotfur would take over as a nursery queen, like Daisy, and maybe Eaglewing as a builder. We don't know. We don't spend enough time with these characters. Of all the cats that are left, I really want Birchful to be the oldest, and I really want him to be like the only elder, at least when he retires, because I think it would be really cool if he told a bunch of kits about his time in the Old Forest when he was their age. I think that would be a really sweet detail. I would want ThunderClan to get dwindled down in like a murder mystery-esque thing involving poison. Tension should be high, innocence should be slaughtered, family should be torn apart. I can see it happening after both Bramblestar and Squirrelflight die of some mysterious poisoning, and the clan devolves into madness to figure it out. Give some background character a moment to shine as either being a detective or the murderer, or even both. Wouldn't it be so cool if Thriftier really wanted to become leader, so she murdered both of them and tried to become leader in the chaos? Nobody knew this, but maybe Plumstone figured it out or something like that. It'd be really cool to see some murder in the clans while the rest of the clan can get picked off with like sickness, or I don't know, maybe Two Legs put something on their territory. Either way, murder mystery would probably be how I would want ThunderClan to have them be, dwindled. Shadow Clan, goodbye Tigerstar, Tawny Pelt, and Oakfur. Old cats, get out of here. Tigerstar, do not want you anymore. I'd prefer if Dovewing and one of her 2 kits, as well as 2 of Cinnamon Tail's kits, to go. And of those, I'd prefer Birch Kit, Bloom Kit, and Whisper Kit to survive. As for warriors, there are currently 20 of them, excluding Tawny Pelt, and I think at least 10 of them to die. So going down the list, we're just going to get rid of Stonewing, Flaxfoot, Sparrowtail, Yarrowleaf, Grassheart, Whirlpelt, Flowerstem, Slatefur, Palmstep, Goldswoop, and Hollow Spring. I hope that wasn't anyone important. That would bring ShadowClan down to 15 cats, and of all of those, cats that are plot relevant should just stay around a little bit longer. For added pressure, I think that Puddleshine could also be killed off, but it's not something I would really want to do unless certain circumstances are met. Like, unless he goes out healing his clanmates or doing something kind of heroic for a medicine cat. Not like fighty, but just a medicine cat level of heroicism. Shadowsight should stay alive, and I think he really, really needs to stay alive. And I think a bunch of the like fun colored ShadowClan cats like Snaketooth and Hopwhisker should get to stay around longer because they look cute, and we need more fun, colorful characters. I can see ShadowClan becoming thinned out due to a serious sickness, and it gets so bad that they would have to quarantine their ill. I think that Puddleshine would probably be the one to go with them when they're quarantined so that he can help try to keep them alive, and I could see the sickness killing him because of this. I think it'd be really cool to see all the tension and finger pointing over silly little symptoms, like clanmates start turning on each other because they don't want to get sick or quarantined, and maybe some cats try to hide it. Imagine in a clan meeting, someone coughs and everyone backs away from them or starts pointing them out. It's just a lot of tension would be fun. I've also imagined that those who are quarantined, none of them would survive, and that the clan waits a long, hopeful time to be like, are they coming back? Are they coming back? And eventually they just go up to where they're quarantined, which would probably be some two-leg place on their territory, and they'd find out that it was all dead bodies. No one survived whatever sickness this was. Now for Sky Clan. Because this clan is relatively new to the Lake territories, there are two options for them. Either only a fourth of the clan dies, or only a fourth of the clan remains. I'm going to go with the latter, just to try to get these numbers pretty low. First off, Goodbye Leaf Star, Hawkwing, and Followfern. Frecklewish and Fidget Flake can also leave, probably Tree as well. Of the 27 warriors, most of them can go. Sparrowpelt, MacGyver, Dewspring, Needleclaw, Plumwillow, Sage Nose, Harrybrook, Cloudmist, Rabbitleap, Runflight, Reclaw, Mintfur, Tiny Cloud, Pale Sky, Violet Shine, Bellaleaf, Quellfeather, Pigeonfoot, Gravelnose, Sunnypelt, and the Queen Blossom Heart. All can go. What's left is Kite Scratch, Cherrytail, Turtlecrawl, Nettle Splash, Nectar Song, Root Spring, Beetlepaw, Beepaw, Ridgekit, and Dustkit. I think that of all of these warriors, except for Root Spring, all of them are pretty good choices for leader and deputy. Because we don't know a lot about them. I mean, they could either be really good or really bad, and any of that drama is really fun. Personally, I'd choose Nectar Song as leader, and Cherrytail would be her deputy. I think that that just seems like a cool mix. I think that what would happen to SkyClan to make them lose so much would probably be because they lost Frecklewish and Fidget Flake first, probably in a rock slide or something. And after losing those two, there's a series of unfortunate injuries and illnesses that just pick off the clan. One of the kits could become Medicine Cat afterwards, and be getting a steady supply of Star Clan dreams to help them learn their herbs. And even though the clan would be pretty small with only 10 cats, I don't imagine them facing any super dire situations like Shadow Clan or Thunder Clan. I think that it would just be pretty natural things like an infected thorn or falling out of a tree and getting injured and then dying from that injury. I can just imagine regular things that happen to characters every day in between books would happen to this clan, but it becomes so serious because they have no medicine cats. For Wind Clan, this clan is already pretty small compared to the rest, so not many cats that I'd want to get rid of. I would get rid of Crowfeather, Nightcloud, Brindlewing, Breezepelt, Heathertail, Whiskernose, Gorsetail, Woodsong, Crouchfoot, Slightfoot, and Flutterfoot. Too many foots. Everyone else is pretty fine, and of all the leaders around the lake, I think Hairshar should stick around for a while longer. I think a good deputy for him would be Emberfoot, just because Emberfoot's a little rascal who could pick trouble, and we don't see a lot of older cats being chosen as deputy. I could see Emberfoot being deputy for a while and then retiring, and then someone like Larkwing could take over. I think that Wind Clan would be dwindled down by something like a few badgers on their territory. Something that they tried to use in that Crowfeather book with the stoats. I think that losing 11 cats, which are mostly warriors and elders, would probably happen in between pages, or it would be through really serious plot fighting of trying to get these predators away. I think that most of these cats would die in battle or later from their injuries, or like some elders would be like defending the kits and go out really cool. I don't think any of these cats should just die without like just drop dead. I think that it would be a lot through like injuries, infections, and I think that whatever predator they have in their territory should give a general physical weakness over WindClan. I think a lot of these warriors and apprentices would be scarred up and, torn, and we'd see a lot more, maybe physical disabilities coming out of WindClan, which would be really interesting because WindClan is always that group that is like, oh, they're always fast and run, but I think if you've had cats with a limp, you might want to talk about other aspects of WindClan culture and maybe how that's a struggle for them and how they would overcome that, and just, it would be interesting. WindClan would be dwindled from physical ailments. Moving on, RiverClan. These guys are already a few cats down, so they're doing a really good job. At 23 cats by the end of the book, they're, as I said, pretty much the size of some clans in Into the Wild. So given that their leader and deputy are already dead and that there are only a few cats left to die, I just randomly pick a couple that seem like they'd be good options to get rid of. Mosspelt, Podlight, Sneeze Cloud, Gorseclaw, and Lizardtail would be all good, but the only cat I'd for sure want to get rid of is just Mothwing. I think not only am I just not a huge fan of Mothwing, especially not how she's being portrayed as of late, but I also think that it could serve some added pressure to have Frostpaw as the only cat in RiverClan who has any bit of leadership to her. Everybody else in RiverClan is fine. At least their amount of cats, I think that should die is like 5 or 6. Like I can imagine these cats passing away in whatever events are coming in the series. So we'll probably see some characters dying pretty soon, and we might see the lowering of cats. The lowering of the amount of cats in RiverClan some more. For leader, I'd probably make Splashtail leader and her deputy Night Sky. I just like the colors and names of these cats. This isn't who I think would actually lead the clan in what we might see in Sky. I don't have any guesses for that, actually, but I would probably, personally, just want Splashtail and Night Sky. So of all the roughly 160, 70 cats at the Lake Territories, half of those just gotta go. I, above, got rid of about 86 cats, and brought that number down to about 80, and that's including the 3 who died at the end of River. Regardless of who dies and who survives, those at the Lake Territory just need to be decreased so significantly. Like, not only are there too many characters to remember, there are too many characters to even care about. I mean, I don't think anyone can name all the cats in, these clans. Like, one major reason why so many of the early arcs are people's favorites happened to be because not only do we know these characters, but we know them pretty well. There are more characters that are well known in Into the Wild than in River, and I bet more fans could name all of ThunderClan from the first arc than name half of ThunderClan now. I really think that the Aarons just need to kill some people, and not just a little bit, but a lot. Half it. Just put all these names into a random generator and just get rid of half of them. Just anyone who's old, maybe some young people. Start giving new people attention. Like, it's not that hard. Just, I think this happens a lot because of recognition and a lot of the fact that it's easy to keep writing for characters that you already know, but in a series like Warriors that takes place over years and years, like we have had, I think, 2 really long, like, one like 13-month, one like 14-month time skip. We need more space for characters, these new characters, because they're just like lambs to the slaughter, and I think that they really have some potential. And I think that a lot of just big name characters really need to get removed. And yeah, I think that's about it. I think that rant is over. If you made it this far, thanks for watching, and yeah, next, like, long video I want to do, because this was kind of just off the cuff, and I'm not gonna edit this audio or anything, so thanks for sitting through some pretty poor audio. I want to talk about A Vision of Shadows, and I even have a video that I'm editing the audio of. I'm like halfway through. It was an hour long when I started, and there was a lot to cut out. We're like 12 minutes of just content removed already. I would love to get that video out soon, and that kind of be the next big video I do. So I guess look forward to that in the coming months. I don't know when I get that out, but I want to. And yeah, thanks for watching, and if you made it this far, in the comments, tell me who you want to not longer be in the books, and maybe if you had to choose which protagonist for the next arc, or even if you want to replace the protagonist we have this arc, tell me who you would choose, because surely no one related to Firestar would be my choice. I'm just so tired of his family. Have a good day, guys.